watch the video once we get it posted. Okay. So to start us off with this transitioning to CMDP, I'd like to talk to you guys about what CMDP is. So CMDP stands for Compliance Monitoring Data Portal. And this application was created by EPA, by the Environmental Protection Agency, to facilitate the electronic reporting of compliance samples. So they intended this application to be used by private laboratory users like yourself, state primacy agent users like me, and also for water system users, but we've not yet implemented that side of things, but eventually we're hoping that water systems will be able to use it to keep track of their sampling data as well, and also keep track of updating their inventory information. So right now you guys are using lab data submittal to create your sample data, and you're uploading data through lab to state. So that process looks like you guys going into LDS, creating the sample files, and then you download that to a .csv file. And then you find that file on your computer, upload it to lab to state, and then from lab to state, you can certify and submit the sample. So now with CMDP, we've updated LDS so that it can push the sample files into CMDP. So the first portion of your sample creation isn't going to change. You're still going to key everything into LDS the way that you normally do, and then you're going to actually send the sample data to CMDP. So you don't even have to worry about downloading a file, finding it on your computer, and re-uploading it. You're just going to click a button and use your STS username and password to send that file straight to CMDP. And then just like you log into lab to state and certify and submit, you would just log into CMDP instead and certify and submit from there. So we're hoping that CMDP is going to have some benefits for you guys, because you're not going to have to deal with that CSV file or a CSV file download and finding and uploading. You're just going to be able to send your sample data directly into CMDP. So it's going to eliminate any of those problems that you might encounter where you don't really have control over the way your computer's set up because of the way your IT is structured, and you might lose the file and not be able to locate it. And you know, have to call us and have the file, the samples reset so you can re-download. So we've added a couple of new buttons to LDS. We have these options to upload selected and also to upload already. So you have the option, if you've created a whole bunch of samples and you don't want to go through and check or use the select option, or check multiple pages of data, you can just use the upload already button and it will extract everything that you've created. Or if you just have a couple that you want to upload and you don't want to do everything all at once, you can just go through and check the boxes the way you normally do and just use the upload selected. And then you'll also see the new button to go to go to CMDP, and that just replaces the button we had there to go to lab to state. Another benefit of CMDP is that it does provide these error messages if there's a problem with the file. So if for some reason there was to be an error in the sample data, when you upload it into CMDP, it'll let you know that that file is not going to make it into our database before you even click send. And you can see the screenshot there. If the validation category is critical, it'll show you the error description and different things. If the validation category is critical, the sample will not upload to our database. CMDP also has a similar setup as LDS, that it shows you your sample status. So you could actually see what stage the sample file is in while you're going through the process of certifying and submitting. So CMDP allows you to set up different user roles, and it will actually show you which user role the file is with: draft with preparer, draft with reviewer, draft with certifier, and then submitted, and then accepted by state. And we will have CMDP set up so that once you click certify and submit, our database will actually cycle and pull that data into our database every 30 minutes. So after 30 minutes, you should see that accepted by state status show up, so you know that your sample data has made it in. So this accepted by state status, it indicates that a certified XML file has been received by our state database. So during our testing, we found that there are 2 cases when an individual sample file may still be rejected. And this is when a laboratory is not certified or no longer certified for the method that they use to analyze the sample, or if the TCR schedule is not set up properly. And if the samples are rejected due to the TCR schedule not being set up properly, the lab will be notified and you won't be penalized for any late reporting that resulted from the sample rejection. And we are working on running reports more frequently to make sure that compliance schedules are associated correctly. So hopefully we'll be able to avoid that problem. But there still is always the issue of water systems collecting their additional routine samples outside of the month that they were required to collect them. And we still want to see that sample data even if they collected in the wrong month, but we will need to manually change the schedule to allow that sample data to make it in. So important changes that are coming with the CMDP transition. You will no longer be receiving those 2 emails that you usually get regarding the migration status of your sample. Instead, we're going to be sending you a report daily. So instead of getting one for every submission, you'll just get a daily report.
For some people that can't see the presentation.
Oh, they can't see the presentation.
Yeah, so we're trying to find a way to get those people set up.
Okay. Do we want to go ahead and pause the recording for a minute? Figures out. Go ahead and start back up. I think resharing fixed the issue for everyone. But if you have any more problems during the presentation, just go ahead and let us know in the chat box. So I'll just start back at the top of this slide. So instead of receiving the email, the usual email that you get every time you certify and submit a sample file, we'll be sending these daily reports to everyone's email address, which will summarize the sample files that you submitted for the entire day. So if you submitted a bunch of different sample files throughout the day, you'll see it all in one report, and it will let you know what the final migration status is. So if there was one of those issues where your certification had lapsed or the information in our database was incorrect with your certification, or the TCR schedule wasn't set up properly, you'll see those errors in that report and you'll be able to contact us to get that resolved. If there are no errors, you'll just get a blank report. So another important change is the sample IDs. You will not be able to reuse the same sample ID if you have already submitted that sample to our database. So once you submit a sample in CMDP, you cannot delete that sample file out of CMDP. And CMDP is going to keep track of that sample ID that you've used. So if you upload a sample with that same sample ID, it's going to give you an error and let you know that there's already a sample in CMDP that has that, that sample file ID. So we just suggest that if you've uploaded something and once it's been uploaded you determine that there's an error and it needs to be corrected, when you resubmit, just add an extension to the original sample ID, just like adding an A at the end of it, so that we know the sample's been changed, and so that CMDP allows you to enter that new sample ID code. Another change is that users cannot upload multiple composite samples from LDS to CMDP all at one time. So with all of the other contaminants, you can select upload already or select multiple samples, but the composite samples are just not set up in a way that CMDP can accept multiple samples at one time. And I think that's because it's already multiple samples in one file, so it can't have multiple composite samples being uploaded. And another issue we found with the composite samples, the lab log IDs must not exceed 20 characters. And we've built it into LDS that if you try to put in more than 20 characters, you will get a message that lets you know that you can't exceed the characters. And you'll also get a message that you can't upload multiple composite samples if you try to select multiple samples. And those composite samples have to do with radionuclides, for those of you that don't know or don't deal with doing radionuclides. So in order to transition to using CMDP, you need to be set up with this SCS account. And that stands for Shared Chrome Services. And Chrome is EPA's abbreviation for Cross-Media Electronic Reporting Rule. And this SCS account is basically equivalent to your NCID account, except that SCS is managed by EPA, whereas NCID is managed by the North Carolina state government. So you need to create a username and password through the SCS website, and you can do that by following the role registration guide. We've provided that in the LDS pop-up, and it's also available on our website, and I'll show you where to find all of that at the end of the presentation. We would like to have everyone registered for an SCS account by the end of this month. That way we can go ahead and start transitioning people into using the LDS CMDP. We're planning on actually updating the new lab data submittal new version on January 1st, 2019. That's going to be our transition date. We're actually going to make the new version of LDS available sooner. We're probably going to update the pop-up one more time so that you guys can access either version, either Lab to State or the CMDP version, starting in December of 2018. But that transition period is going to be voluntary, but we want everyone to be ready to transition by January 1st, 2019. The important thing to remember during your transition is that repeat samples must be uploaded using the same application as the original sample. So if you have a total coliform positive sample come in and you enter it into LDS and upload it using Lab to State, you need to upload the repeat samples the same way. And if you have a positive sample come in and you've already transitioned and started using CMDP, and you put that positive sample in and you certify and submit through CMDP, you have to do the repeats through CMDP as well. So the registration for an SCS account begins at the website shown here at the top of the page, this encromer.epa.gov, and you'll just follow through these steps in order to create an account, and it should be pretty similar to if you've created any other user name and password account. You'll select the partner, which is going to be the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, and you'll select the program, which is the Compliance Monitoring Data Portal, and then you're going to select your role. And now for most of our LDS users, we've recommended that you guys set up an administrative account as a private laboratory administrator. And what this does is it gives you access to all of the different roles in CMDP. So you can be the preparer, the reviewer, the certifier, and the administrator. Now, if you have it set up to where you want people to have different roles, the administrator is going to be the person that approves those other roles. After you go to the page where you select these different partner programs and roles, you're going to accept privacy, policy, terms and conditions, accept rules and behavior, and then you're going to go through and enter your user information for your profile. And then you use the search function to actually choose your laboratory information. And now, if you run into problems with this step and you can't get your laboratory to actually show up when you search for it, just go ahead and give one of us a call. And what I found most likely is the reason for this is because we have your laboratory information entered a certain way in our database. And if it's not the same as we have it entered, if a hyphen's in the wrong place, or if we have water treatment plant abbreviated and you have it written out, it's going to create some problems during the search function. So we can just let you know exactly how we have it keyed into our database, and you should be able to search for it pretty easily. Once you set up your profile information, you should get an email verification, and that'll give you a code that you can enter back into the SCS account. And then you can go through and start completing this LexisNexis identity verification. And this is going to require you to create 5 challenge questions. And essentially the entire reason for this step of the account creation is to verify with EPA that you are a certified laboratory, and that every time you click that certify and submit button, your identity is being verified, that you are somebody that's actually allowed to be creating this sample data and verifying that the analysis was completed properly. So you should have the option to be able to do this electronic signature agreement online, but if you have issues with that, also just give us a call. We've had some people that just, for whatever reason, haven't been able to do this step electronically, and we can walk you through how to print out the form and send it to us, and once we get the form, we can just go in and manually give you the approval once we get a hard copy of your form. So whether you do that step online or you get us the hard copy, if you can do it online, we would like you to do it online. And only send us the hard copy if you absolutely can't do it online. But we'll get a notification to approve your role, and once we get that approved, your user role is going to be activated. And then you can start using CMDP. So as I mentioned before, there's 4 available user roles. You've got this private laboratory administrator, which basically has access to all of the different roles. So you can go through each step of the upload and certification process without handing off the final submission to someone else within your organization. The private laboratory certifiers, they can prepare, review, and certify samples, and the reviewer can only prepare and review, and the preparer can only prepare the samples. So the preparer can actually only upload the samples into CMDP and then turn them over to someone else to go through the next steps. So that's kind of why we recommended that you all set your accounts up as a private laboratory administrator, because we know that most of you, your lab staff is maybe 1 or 2 people, and you're that person that's entering the samples and certifying and submitting. So we want you to be able to go through all the steps without running into any problems. But if you are a larger laboratory and you've decided to set up these different roles because you have a lot of people working to get this sample information uploaded, the administrator is going to be the one that has to help set up the certifier, reviewer, and preparer roles. So if you have someone that goes and sets up a review or that sets up an account as a certifier, it's going to notify that administrator that they need to approve that person's account. And then, so instead of the state approving your account and going through that final role and final step to approve your role, you're actually going to be the person approving the role for the certifiers, reviewers, and preparers. And I mentioned this online LexisNexis identity assurance. Again, this gives you the ability to be able to electronically sign off and certify and submit those sample jobs in CMDP. And this is just something that the Environmental Protection Agency came up with to be in compliant with their CROMER legal requirements. And that again is the the cross-media electronic reporting rule. So again, we'd like you all to do the online LexisNexis identity assurance if you can. And if you can't, we'll go ahead and do the paper electronic signature agreement. You're going to create these 5 security challenge questions and answers, and it's really important that you remember what those 5 questions are and remember that they go with your electronic signature agreement. Because when we get into CMDP, you'll see that those 5 security questions that you create, you're going to be asked those questions every time you certify and submit a sample. And that's just a way that EPA, again, can verify your identity, that you're the person that created this account. And if you have issues with the electronic signature agreement, I've got our contact information at the end of the presentation, and you can give us a contact about that. So once you go through the steps and you certify that sample in CMDP, it's going to be uploaded into our database every 30 minutes. So you'll see it change from submitted to accepted, every 30 minutes that our database refreshes. A new thing that you guys are going to have to remember is that since this SCS account is managed through EPA and not through the North Carolina state government, you must change your password every 90 days. And when you create your SCS account, it's going to have you pick these 3 security questions. And these 3 security questions are going to be different than the 5 that you created to be able to certify and submit your samples. So just remember that you're going to have, possibly 8 different questions to remember, and 3 of them are just going to be for updating your password. And we recommend that once you update your SCS password, go ahead and update your NCID password as well, and that'll help you keep things consistent so you're not trying to remember 2 different passwords. You just have to remember the one. And a trick that I've learned that's really helped me for updating passwords, if you can include a date in there somewhere and just make a note to yourself when you updated that password, you'll be able to look at your note and know that that date's included in your password. So if you have something that you like to use that's your favorite password for everything, you can modify it in different ways to make it a new password, but incorporate a date into it somehow so you know what you've changed each time you go through the 90-day cycle. So I'm going to go ahead and demo for you all how to go through a password reset. I have let my password expire, so I can show you exactly how to resolve this. So this is EPA's SCS login page. And I'm going to go ahead and put in my username. Okay, so I get this notification that this account's password has been expired. So to unlock, I need to give it my email address and my user ID. Okay, and so it's going to ask me my security question, and I have to give it the answer. And this, again, is going to be one of the 3 that you create, which are going to be different than the 5 that you're going to use to log in or to certify and submit samples in CMDP. Oh, wait. What's that? Well, I think that the format is to help you remember how you put it in, but okay, I'm going to try it without the hyphen. Maybe don't pick this one, because I've actually picked this one for other accounts, and I've had the same issue with it. All right. Hold on. I think I typed it in wrong the first time. Okay, perfect. So now I've got an email that lets me know my password's been reset, and it's going to give me a link so that I can go and change my password. And for those of you that set up your SCS account back when we started this transition early on, you're definitely going to need to go through these steps to change your password, because I'm sure you haven't logged into it for more than 90 days. I'm going to go ahead and put in my usual password with my new date. Okay, and my password's been successfully updated, so now I can log into CMDP and submit my sample file data. I recommend that you guys put a reminder on your calendar so that you can remember to update this every 90 days. But if you do forget and you're getting an error when you go into LDS that your samples can't be submitted, just go ahead and log in to this SCS site and update your password. And again, that website is encromer.epa.gov. So let's go ahead and I'll go through the steps with you guys so you can actually see what it looks like to certify and submit samples using LDS and CMDP. So when you access the new version of LDS, you'll see this little plus CMDP at the end to let you know that you're using the new version of LDS. And if you're using the other one, you won't see that plus CMDP at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and log in as a laboratory. And we'll go to the back T samples just to kind of show you what this is going to look like. So this should look pretty familiar to you because we haven't really changed a whole lot. You'll see the new buttons, the upload selected, upload already, and the go to CMDP. But as far as adding samples, I'm going to go ahead and allow pop-ups so that we can do this. Okay, we've got to restart the browser. Okay, so I've disabled the pop-up, but as you can see, that for as far as it goes adding samples, the screens are the same. We haven't changed anything. The only difference is when you get to the step where you're ready to upload. So you can either select some different ones or you can just click this upload already. And what you're going to see is this pop-up, and this is going to be to enter your SCS username and password. So if you enter your LDS username and password in here, it's not going to work. Because you need your credentials to be able to access CMDP. And so once you put in your user ID information in here, you just put in your username, you put your password, and you click OK. Or if you get to this step, if you click OK and you realize after you've clicked OK that you made a mistake, you can click this reset button, and it will change your samples back to a ready status so they don't go into that submitted where you can't send the file again. So there is a way to kind of back out if you've made a mistake. And also we have the go to CMDP link right here, so you don't have to close back out of this and go to CMDP back in LDS, so you can get to it different ways. But once you put in your username and password and click OK, you'll see a little pop-up that lets you know that this isn't a final submission to the state. You still have to log into CMDP and do the certification and submittal steps. And for the purposes of the demo, I've already uploaded some samples to CMDP. So we'll just go ahead and use the CMDP link to get logged in so we can show you what that's going to look like. Oh. Okay, so we've logged in as one of our test laboratories, and you come in under this home page. I'll go back to this, and you should be able to see your laboratory information listed here. If you're associated with different laboratories, you'll actually be able to see all of the laboratories that you have accounts with. So if you are someone that works with different laboratories, you can actually add multiple roles to your SCS account. So you could be a private laboratory administrator for 2 different water treatment plants. You'll also be able to see what job files you have in progress and which ones you've had submitted to the state. This PWS Profiles tab, you can use that to search for different water systems and see what kind of data that is available for that water system. You'll be able to see the admin contacts, the address, phone numbers, and this is all information that we have available for them in our database. But this part of the application is going to be more complete when we actually transition to EPA's new database. And so that's something that's going on in the future for the state government, as we're going to be transitioning to EPA's new database. But you guys won't have to worry about that because you'll already be transitioned to CMDP, and it should be able to go into our new database without any issues. But this is also kind of what the water systems would use, that we envision they would be able to use if they had a water system administrative account, and they would be able to review their water system information. If you go to your laboratory profile, you can see the information that we have about the laboratories that you're registered with. And of course, if there's any information on there that's incorrect, you can let us know so we can get that updated. But the main page that you guys are going to be working with is this drinking water sample jobs. So every time you upload a file from LDS, it's going to give it a job ID, and it's going to put it on this list of drinking water sample jobs. And you'll be able to see what date it was created, and you'll also be able to see the status. So right now, I've uploaded a couple of demo samples, and you can see that the draft is with the preparer. And all the samples that you upload are going to start out with the preparer role. So to see what a sample looks like, just double click on the line that you want to view, and it's going to open up this job summary view. And for this first sample that I'm showing you guys, I'm going to show you what it looks like if there's some kind of error with the file. So you open it up and there's nothing on this page. So that already lets you know that there's something wrong. So we go to this validations tab, and it's going to give you these different categories. We have 10 samples that were uploaded for microbial, so we'll click on that line. And you'll see in this XML submittal validation error details at the bottom of the page, we've got a whole bunch of critical errors. So we did something wrong. And if you go over here to this error description, it says that this sample already exists. So we've uploaded a file, and the sample IDs already exist in CMDP, which may happen, and I think this would probably be the most common problem that you guys would run into, since you are able to reset those samples before you back out of that submission. So if you go through with the submission and you send the files to CMDP, and then you reset them, go back and maybe change a couple of dates or change a few things, and you try to upload it again, you're going to see this error because you've already sent that sample ID into CMDP. But if that does happen, I'll go ahead and show you how you can fix that. You can select the job ID, and you can just remove the sample file that you don't want to be in CMDP. And one of the issues you can see, if at all possible, they've recommended that we use CMDP with the Firefox browser. And I know some of you don't have an option of which browser you can use, but you can see, I'll just do another one of these. You kind of have this, the transparency is really high with Chrome, so it's really hard to read. But it says, are you sure you want to remove this file? If you use it in Firefox, that box will be opaque and you'll actually be able to read it much easier. It's not, I mean, you're still able to use the application. They're aware that this is an issue. I'm not sure what their plans are to resolve it, but I know in Firefox this application works perfectly, and I'm pretty sure it works fine in Internet Explorer as well. The only issues are with Chrome. But I have also uploaded that sample file. I can't unclick that. Once before, so you can see that if the file does upload correctly, you should be able to see every single sample that's in that sample file. And I just created 10 different BAC-T samples, like the City of Raleigh just gone out and collected their weekly samples. If you wanted to see what was in each of these individual samples, again, you can double click. The transparency is really bad in Chrome, but you can see the water system ID, the sampling location, everything that you put into LDS. You can see the analysis start and end times. If you wanted to double check everything and just make sure you input it correctly, you can go through each of these and see all of the sample information that you put into LDS. These tabs you don't have to worry about, but I'm just going through and showing them to you so you don't think I'm, they usually don't have anything on them, but you do want to look at this validations tab. And I wanted to show you that you're going to see these federal reporting validation results, and you don't have to worry about these. So these are, I guess, suggestions for EPA for what needs to be reported. And we already have everything set up in LDS so that you generate all of the sample information we need. And these federally or conditionally required fields, you don't have to worry about these because we've already taken care of them for you. But this time we can click on this microbial line, and we can see down here we have no critical errors. And that's the important part, because if you have a critical error, the sample file is not going to be uploaded. If you were to be dealing with radionuclides and composite samples, you've got this extra tab here for that. And there's an extra file for, or tab for attachments, but you won't have to worry about that either. And the nice thing about CMDP is if you're working with a lot of different jobs at one time, it's set up in this tabular format. So you can actually open as many job files as you would like. You can open up this second one, and it's just going to open up in a new tab. And another thing that I wanted to point out to you guys is the easiest tell if you've had a sample file upload with critical errors. So for this sample category, you can see that it'll show up if you have a sample file that's uploaded correctly. But if it does have critical errors, like the second one that I just opened, it's going to show up without that sample category. So if you see a blank there, go ahead and open up that validations tab and look to see what that critical error is. For those of you that are dealing with composite samples, I can show you what one of those would look like. So you can see the 4 samples that have gone into it that are going to be averaged. And on this last page, you can actually see the 1 file that it's gone into. And it will show you the 4 different samples that were averaged and what that final result is going to be. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to show you how to go through the steps to actually certify and submit this file. So the first thing, we'll say that we want to submit this microbial file that we have. We know that it's a valid file because we can see the microbial sample category. And we opened it up and we looked at the validations tab and we saw that there's no critical errors. So we're going to go up here and we're going to send to reviewer. After we've selected it and highlighted it, we're going to go ahead and click that button. So we're logged in with Eric's account right now, and since we're the administrator, we're just going to select ourselves, and we're going to advance it to the next role and give it to ourselves. And again, if we wanted to, we could go through each of these samples individually, verify that we put in all the correct information, or you can do that step in LDS, whichever you prefer. And at the very least, I think you should probably pull this up and just count how many samples you had here, and look at your sample IDs and just make sure that you're uploading everything that you thought you were uploading with this file. So we've reviewed the sample data, and now we're going to send it to the certifier. So we select it again. We send to certifier. If you're an administrator, you're just going to select yourself, and you're going to submit it to yourself. And finally, we'll select it one more time, and we can go to the certify and submit to state. So we put in our username one more time. You put in your password. You click submit. And so now it's asking you for your security question, which I'm going to have to move this a little bit, but it says, who is your favorite author? And this is one of the 5 questions that you create. This is one of our test accounts, so we just we use some easy to remember answers. But this is going to be one of the 5 security questions you created with that LexisNexis identity assurance. So this is verifying that I am a certified laboratory. I'm allowed to upload this sample. So I put my security question answer. I check this box that says, I certify under penalty of law that the information provided in this document is to the best of my knowledge and belief true, accurate, and complete. I'm aware that there are significant penalties for submitting false information, including the possibility of fines and imprisonment for knowing violations. So we click submit. And we get this notification that says the job was successfully submitted to the state. And now you can see that status has been submitted. And I forgot to point out as we were going through the different steps, each time I sent that role to the next person, you can see that status is going to change. Draft with preparer, draft with reviewer, and there might be a draft or with certifier in there somewhere, but if you were in the middle of working on one and you got pulled away from the computer, you can come back and see exactly where you were in the process of getting that sample uploaded. We'll go ahead and go back to the PowerPoint for a minute. So we reviewed how to go through it in LDS. We reviewed how to do it in CMDP. One of the last things that we wanted to show you is this sample lookup tool. So this is something that's been recently updated on our website, and if you haven't seen it yet, I'll just go ahead and go over it with you. So this has been an update to the sample status report, and this is the link to get to that reports tool. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how to get to it from our website. So this is the main page of our drinking water website. You can get there deq.nc.gov, about divisions, water resources, drinking water. And if you look at this blue sidebar, you can scroll down and you'll see this PWS report, sampling status report. And I'm going to open this up in a new tab so we can keep this page. And you'll see this option to select 2 different report types. So if you're looking for the sampling status report that you're used to, you just want to see it for one water system, you're going to click this water system button. But if you're a laboratory that has just uploaded a whole bunch of sample data and you're not really sure if the state received it and you just would like something for your records, you know, to go back and be able to verify that we got all 100 of those samples that you uploaded this week. So you click on this laboratory button and you get these different lookup reports that you now can use. If you uploaded some chemical samples, you can click on this chem sample lookup report and you'll be able to, of course a pop-up was blocked. I'll allow the block pop-ups and you'll get a new tab that opens up and you'll have the options to put in your laboratory information and a date range, and you can actually look up all of the information that we have for those samples that have been successfully uploaded into our database. So you have these options to enter a report date range, begin date and end date, your lab certified ID, and then if you want, you can narrow it down to a specific water system. But if you didn't want to, you could search for all of the samples that you've uploaded within a certain date range. And does this say on here? I forgot to write down a 5-digit lab number. I'm not sure if I can remember one off the top of my head. Could someone type into the chat real quick a 5-digit number for us to demo for you? Okay, we can try that one. So let's see, we want to see samples that have been uploaded maybe for the last couple of months. So we'll do October. Since we just got through the 10th of the month, we want to see what we uploaded for October. Okay, and we want to see it for every water system that we've submitted samples for, so we won't put in a water system. We'll just click OK. Okay, so there haven't been any chem samples. The chem samples are done more infrequently than TCRs. We probably should have done a wider date range. So let's do, we'll go back to July. Or, yeah, that should give us the whole quarter. Okay, and it was 37785.
Oh, they don't do chem samples.
Let's just do TCR samples because everyone does those. And some of you guys might not even deal with the chemicals, but I know all of you do TCR. Okay, so everything that's in this report is what is in our state database. And this is also probably a little easier than going to the Drinking Water Watch. You know, you just want something that's you can generate in an Excel spreadsheet, and you can go through and make sure sample data has been uploaded. And you can actually export this to an Excel spreadsheet if you want to. So you go up here to this little arrow, you click export, export document. We want to export it as an Excel. And this way, if you needed to share this information with anyone, you could send them the Excel spreadsheet. You can show them the sample information that's been uploaded. You can see the presence indicator, the chlorine residual. This is great for checking also to see if you might have missed a chlorine residual, because that happens every once in a while. So you could scroll through. If you don't see a chlorine residual, you could give us a call, and we could delete that sample out for you so that you can re-upload with the chlorine residual. And also, if you're concerned about any of your lab certification, we've got a report for that as well. So you can type in your certification begin date, end date, in your certification, and also your analyte codes if you just want to see it for a specific analyte. So there's lots of different options that are available for you guys. Again, if you just wanted to see the water system report, you can change the report type up here instead of going back to that main screen and re-clicking laboratory or water system. There's a search bar up at the top to put in a water system ID, which I'll click back over here. Okay, so we have this option of doing either the sampling status report, which should be very similar to what you guys have seen before. You can see all the different analytes that we're required to sample for, and we're going to see the current monitoring period or the next monitoring period that we're required to sample for. For nitrate, right now we're still in 2018, so we can see that we are required to do that. We're required to collect one, and we can see that one's been collected. And for these future monitoring periods, we can see we haven't collected any of those samples yet. But this is also nice because, again, you can export this, and you can have it for your records. You can export it as a PDF, and if you want to print this out and hang it up on the wall or put it in your office, there's a way for you to do that. And we'll go back to this reports again. We also have this new public notice generator. This is only for Tier 3 public notices, so you're monitoring violations. So if you're working with the water system, or you are a water system and you've lost the copy of the public notice that you need, it's automatically going to fill in some information for you, but you can print that out and fill out the rest of it that you need, how many samples you were required to take and what the contaminant group was for. But that is it for the sampling status report. You can play around with those different reports, see what they're like. Again, that's the direct link to get to the reports. You can also navigate it to it from our website, as I showed you before. So once again, the date of the CMDP transition is going to be January 1st, 2019. So at the beginning of this next year. And we're going to give you an entire month to go through that transition. So if at the beginning of January you're still trying to get all your December sample data in, and you want to wait until after the 10th to, start going through this transition to, getting on CMDP, that's completely fine, just as long as you do it before February 1st of 2019. Because on February 21st or February 1st of 2019, we are going to deactivate the Lab to State accounts. So you will no longer be able to log into Lab to State and certify and submit that way. You are going to have to log into CMDP. So we were also hoping to release everything a little bit early for those of you who are really anxious and would like to get a head start. We're hoping that in December we are going to open it up to have the option to either use LDS with CMDP or LDS with Lab to State. And if you would like to start using CMDP in December, we're hoping to have that opened up to you all so you can go ahead and do that if December is a better month for you to start the transition. Also, we've had one laboratory that has agreed to help us start testing even earlier than that to make sure that it's prepared for you all that want to start transitioning in December. So we're going to have that laboratory start uploading some samples in November. I would just also like to put it out there, we've only had one laboratory agree to do this, but we were hoping maybe to have one or two more. So if you would be interested in going ahead and transitioning to CMDP and kind of being our guinea pig for the first couple weeks and just make sure everything is absolutely working perfectly before we open it up to everyone else. The benefit for this is you're going to have our undivided attention for the next couple of weeks before we open it up to everyone else, and we're going to make sure that you can transition smoothly. And if there's any questions you have, we'd like to make those questions available to everyone, because I'm sure if you have those questions, other people are going to have them too. And we'd like to get all those questions answered before everyone starts transitioning. So I had brought up our drinking water website, and hopefully you guys are familiar with your drinking water laboratories page, but this is where we're going to be posting most of the useful information that you're going to need for this transition. So we're going to be posting the recording of today's training webinar. I had the handout for today's PowerPoint up there. If you guys want to print it out, keep it nearby so that you can remember everything that we went over today. We've got on there, or we'll be adding CMDP sample upload and certification instructions. So the steps that I just went through today, we've collected screenshots and put them into a document. So if it gets to January and it's just been too long of a holiday and you can't remember how to do any of this, then you can just follow through the screenshots or just rewatch this video and kind of just go back through the demo portion of it. We've also got on there the role registration guide, which has a step-by-step screenshot instructions for how to register for that SCS account. That role registration guide is also available on the LDS pop-up, as well as the CMDP user manual. So I'm going to back out of here real quick. I've got a lot of tabs open now. So this is the drinking water laboratories page. So I originally started at the drinking water page. You were going to click this drinking water laboratories in the blue sidebar. You'll see this section down here for laboratory forms and guidance. This distribution system forms update, that was back when we added everything about needing to have an address and whether the site was owned or controlled by the water system and whether it was a K through 12. We did a training for that back in 2016. That training video is still up there. We've got the role registration guide that I talked about. This has screenshots, step by step. It'll walk you through how to create that SCS account if you haven't already. The CMDP user manual. This is one of EPA's documents. We've modified it a little bit. We're also going to be modifying the LDS user manual. So in LDS, you can go to this help link and download the user manual. When you get to the new version of LDS, that user manual is going to be updated with those screenshots for how to certify and submit samples in CMDP. So you can reprint that out and have that next to the computer, so anybody that needs to create sample data, they can follow through that user manual and get the sample data uploaded. We already have a CMDP training video up here. That's not for you guys. This is for our people with their custom LIMS application. So if you are an LDS user, you can watch the video, but it's going to be confusing because it's not going to be anything that I went over today, and it's not going to be what you need to do. So I will be posting later the training video from today, and you'll see it in this same location. And you can see this link to the training slide handout, and that's from the PowerPoint presentation today, so you can print out the slides. And as I mentioned a couple of times before, if you run into issues or you have problems, please feel free to contact us. Eric Chai is our IT person. If you're having some sort of issues with, your computer, or for some reason it's not set up properly to allow you to access any of these websites and you're having issues, we can help you with that. Carmelyn Walter, she is head of our data administration, so she is here to help you if you need any assistance with anything. And of course myself, if you guys need anything, I'm always available. We're happy to walk you through, help walk you guys through the SCS registration if you're running into problems following the registration guide, or if when you actually get to the transition, something's just not working right for you, we should be able to help you out. So we'll go ahead and go to the chat now if you guys had any questions, and we will answer those.
And we did have a question about LIMS systems uploading into CMDP and how they would go about doing that. Okay.
So if you are a system that does not want to use LDS, or you don't use LDS and you already have your own application, or you're getting ready to create your own application. I know there are a few of you that are in the process of transitioning to using a LIMS system and you're trying to get away from using LDS. So for you guys, your point of contact is going to be Eric Chai, and he knows everything about how your application needs to be set up so that you can push your sample data into CMDP. And he's got some documents that you can give to your IT people that have all of the programming information in it, and he can work with them directly to help them program that LIMS system. And for them, it's going to be a little different because they're going to be generating their own XML file, and then they're going to be uploading it directly into CMDP, sort of similar to the way that you do it in Lab to State right now. So, the whole section of this LDS training, they won't be dealing with any of that. Okay, so I think that was the only question that we had, but if you guys think of any questions, please let us know. Oh.
If a lab is uploading results for other facilities, do they need to do anything to be approved for that, or do they just follow the process that they've been using?
Okay. Do you mean if you're uploading information for a different 5-digit laboratory code? Because I think if you're working with multiple different laboratories, you have 2 different 5-digit codes, you would need another role added to your CMDP account. So if you were uploading, for this city's water treatment plant, but you're going to switch over to city B and upload for that water treatment plant, is that not what they're asking? Okay. So if you just have your 1-digit, your 5-digit lab, everything that all the samples that you analyze, you are certified to be able to upload that sample data. So you just go through the same steps you normally do in LDS. It doesn't matter which facility, doesn't matter which water system it was. If somebody they couldn't analyze their samples this week and they brought their samples to your water treatment plant and you analyzed them, you can still upload that sample data, as long as you were certified and as long as you actually performed the analysis. Go ahead and upload it the same way you normally would. Okay. So if you would like to help us out this month and upload some sample data, go ahead and send me an email. I am hoping either today or tomorrow to get you guys copies of those screenshot instructions and a link that you can use to start using the LDS to CMDP. And just keep in mind, and this is really for everyone, during the transition, we're going to be giving you different links to use LDS to CMDP. These links are sort of just temporary transition links, and when we disable lab to state, the final link that we end up with, I think it's going to be the same link or the same URL that you guys are using for LDS right now. That's going to be the final link. So if there's any of these intermediate ones, just remember that, because if you bookmark them and try to use them later, once we switch over to that final URL, you're not going to be able to access those anymore. All right, so I will just put this up one more time for you guys. After the holidays, when we get back, January 1st, 2019, we want to start this transition to get you guys pushing your sample data into CMDP, and you've got a whole month to make that happen. Please don't wait until the last day. There are a lot of you, and we really want to help you guys transition and give you as much attention as you need. So if you think you're able to transition early and December's just a good month for you and you don't have a whole lot going on over the holidays, and I know for some of us, things slow down right around the holidays, so if it's a good opportunity for you, I encourage you to transition early. But these are the dates to remember. I'm going to get this training video posted up on the website. That may take a couple of days, but we'll get that posted for you guys to share with your other staff members. All right, thank you all so much.